Bam!
For everything about life beyond the game.
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 For everything about life
Beyond the game.
Visit spin.ph/life.
For everything about life beyond the game.
For everything about life.
For everything about life.
For everything about life beyond the game.
Beyond the game.
Beyond the game.
Beyond the game. For everything about life.
Beyond the game.
Beyond the game. Visit spin.ph/life.
For everything about life.
For everything about life.
For everything about life beyond the game, visit spin.ph/life.
Spin.ph/life.
Hello everyone! Good afternoon po sa inyo. Welcome po sa isang napaka-special na edition ng Spin.ph Zoom In Talk Show. No? Sa episode na to, kakausapin natin ang masasabi natin mga haligi talaga ng Philippine Mobile Legends industry. No? So it's going to be a very special and very interesting episode dahil sa kalibre ng mga guests natin ngayon. No? So ako po si Leo Mangubat, Associate Editor ng Spin Life. Kasama ko po ngayon si Carlos Pineda, ang ating esports editor, dating MPL shoutcaster I believe nung season 5, na ngayon journalist na, no? So Carlos, kamusta ka?
Leo, correction lang, season 4 nung naging
Season 4,
shoutcaster.
okay, I am sorry.
Okay.
Kailan
So,
yan? 2019?
2018, if I'm not mistaken.
2018, okay, right. Okay, how are you doing, Carlos?
I mean, Leo, sobrang excited ako kasi this is if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time now we're going to have esports related guests in the show. And
Yes, correct.
And this is actually a good opportunity for us kasi syempre nakasama natin yung tatlong mga veterano in terms of MPL coaching and analysis, the guys who you really want to listen to. So they have a deeper understanding of what's happening in the game. So interested ako na malaman kung ano yung perspectives nila regarding the upcoming M3 World Championships.
Yes. And bukod sa M3, marami pa tayong pag-uusapan, no? Medyo mainit-init yung mga magiging topics natin today, and I'll leave that to you. And of course, our second member dito sa panel, no? Si Mr. Gabbe from intern sa Spin.ph, naging contributing reporter and writer na for Spin. Masipag po siya mag-cover ng Dota and LOL and Valorant, pero alam ko avid na Mobile Legends fan rin si Sir Gab. Gab, kamusta na?
Hi Sir Leo, hi Sir Carlos. And I wouldn't say na avid fan ng Mobile Legends since recently lang naman ako na babad sa kanya. Actually, na follow ko lang siya after ng M2. So, I'm really
So this
excited
year,
and yes.
yes, yes.
So, I'm really excited lalo na we're gonna talk to some of my idol coaches in terms of Mobile Legends. And of course, napaka bigatin po nila in terms of their field. And syempre, malalaman din natin yung mga what goes on hopefully behind the scenes as they prepare for the biggest Mobile Legends tournament of the year.
Yes, yes. All right. And yes, tama nga yung sinabing salita, no? Binitawang salita ni Gabpe about our guests. Talagang mga idol sila, no? So I'll introduce them one by one. Tapos sir, pag tinawag ko po yung mga pangalan nyo, if you could just say a few words and then we'll move on to the next coach, no? But I think our first coach maybe needs no introduction. His team, Blacklist International, is the reigning MPL champion, and I think this year they were able to achieve runner-up positions sa MPLI na recently concluded, tsaka sa MSC noong June, no? So I think siguro medyo understatement to say that it's been a very good year for Blacklist International and their coach, Coach Bon Chan. So Coach Bon, how are you?
Hello. Magandang araw sa ating mga tagapakinig. Okay lang naman, ito medyo busy sa pag-aasikaso ng mga kinakailangang documents bago kami tuluyang lumipad at makipagbakbakan ulit sa Land of Dawn.
Paperwork, no? Papeles, dami.
Oo, mas yun, mas matrabaho kaysa practice. Mismong practice sa ML. Kasi dito, mismong buong katawan mo kailangan gumalaw magpunta dito, magpunta doon, magantay, magutom. Talagang may experience ko lahat.
Ang dami mo ng pinilahan, sir, coach.
Oo, tama yan. Magmula doon sa pagproseso ng passport, ng vaccine. Kailangan kumpleto yung vaccine eh. Hindi pwedeng one dose lang.
Yes.
So, kailangan kumpleto agad.
Ayun, yun. Coach,
yung
good
sa
luck
mga
dyan.
minor pa.
Oo nga, that's true. Pero good luck dyan, and I'm sure for naman to paparating naman to sa M3, so I think lahat ng hirap nyo magiging worth it talaga. No?
Sana.
Yes. All right, and our second guest is ito, veterano talaga ever since I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Carlos, no, pero season 3 he mentored Archangel to their championship, and then he was also the coach who led Cball Mobile Legends to the gold medal win in the first ever Southeast Asian Games na merong esports, di ba? So and then of course this season, as a recently concluded season 8, siya naman yung naging coach ng isang napaka-dark horse na team na ang daming nagulat, I think, sa naging results nila for this season. No? So I'd like to welcome Coach Panda to the panel. Hello, Coach.
Hello, magandang araw everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Coach Panda. I hope you guys are doing well.
How are you doing, Coach?
Okay lang. We are still on vacation. We are coming back on the third week of November. Right now, the players are trying to get reset right now. Also, we're looking forward for the next season, the preparation, like any kind of re-rostering or what players we can actually recruit. So we are still looking for options. So right now, we're just taking it easy for a while.
Nice. And I think Carlos will try to get off-season news out of you, exclusives, while we have this interview. So mag-iingat na lang kayo, Coach, sa mga tanong ni Carlos ngayon. All right. And last but not least, we have another legend in the coaching roster of the MPL PH teams. No, he led Bren Esports, Carl Tizzy and Co. to the M2 World Championships in Singapore. So napakagandang opening yan for Mobile Legends Philippines nung start of the year, na January pa lang, naging world champions po tayo. And I'd like to really welcome Coach Ducky to the panel ngayon. He's the head coach of Bren Esports, and I believe he was nominated by our writer Maui Reyes as one of the major esports personalities of last year for Spin.ph. So Coach Ducky, hello, how are you?
Hi, okay naman. Hello everyone, I'm Ducky and I like books.
I think lahat tayo. Kung yung library ko andyan sa kabilang kwarto, but yes, we all love books, no. Coach, how is your team doing?
Well, we're currently restructuring the entire team. So right now I'm hands-on sa pag-restructure ng team. But right now, just taking it easy.
All right. Okay, I'll turn over the floor now to Carlos and Gab for the questions. But before we start with this talk show, I'd like to interview sa lahat ng mga nanonood ngayon, lahat ng mga nag-follow, sumusubaybay sa interview na to. Don't forget to leave your comments down below, and we'll read them out on air. And if you also have questions for Coach Ducky, for Coach Panda, and Coach Bonchan, please feel free. Isulat nyo lang sa comment section, tapos basahin namin live. So go ahead, Carlos. Take it away.
Yes, thank you so much, Leo. Okay, so coaches, I'll be asking some questions about the M3, all right? Because we all know the format of the M3. It's a really, really quick-paced tournament. It's not like an MPL na week 2, you know your opponents na 3 days, you prepare for them. Week 3, same story. Week 4, the cycle continues. Here in the M3, you have like day 6 or day 1 where, let's say, Blacklist is going up against all the 3 teams in one day, and then you have like the second day where Onyx is going to do the same this time against the other teams that they're going up against. So my question is, with that limited amount of game time, like how do teams prepare, like mentally or in terms of like their in-game mechanics for this tournament?
I think Coach Bonchan, no? I think this is
Coach
directed
Bonchan,
at Coach Bonchan.
So, ayan, nag-start kami ngayon sa pag-i-scout sa mga makakalaban naming team. So, hindi sila, hindi mga known teams yung makakalaban namin. Pero ang nakakatakot dito dahil best of 1 lang siya, iniiwasan naming madalin ng mga cheese strat. Tinatawag na yung pang one-time, big-time na strat dahil yan, best of 1 nga lang siya. So, hanggat maaari, ini-scout na namin yung 3 team na makakalaban namin, and then dun sa kabila, sa bracket C, in case na kami yung maging nasa upper, makakalaban naman namin yung kabila. So, sa ngayon, hindi pa kami totally nakakapag-practice ng sama-sama. Kagaya nga nasabi ko kanina, inuna namin yung pag-aasikaso ng mga documents. So, pagdating namin dun sa Singapore, wala na kaming ibang iisipin kundi maglaro na lang. Kasi kung uunahin namin yung mag-practice muna dito bago lumipad, baka magka-aberya kami or makompromise. Maaaring maharang or dahil sa kulang ng mga documents. So, mas priority muna talaga namin ngayon yung makumpleto yung mga requirements and mga kailangan namin dalhin. So, pagdating namin ng Singapore, doon pa lang kami mag-all-in talaga sa practice.
I see, yeah. And hopefully maayos naman yung documents nyo at hindi nyo maranasan yung mga Bane Faramis, yung mga Digistat na ganun. So, yeah. So, anyway, I think Panda and Ducky, you might have an additional perspective kasi Ducky, you've been through the M2, and Panda, you've been through the MSC with Archangel, with Overclockers. So, I'll start first with with Archangel going up against like the likes of Overclockers. So, Coach Panda, I'll start with you. Like, how do you prepare with this kind of like format?
Well, the thing is that even though you prepare against teams like that time, if I remember, against Overclockers or even against Louvre, I remember that time in the semifinals, like no matter how much you watch their games and information you have about them, the thing is that the amount you prepare cannot actually be utilized or be prepared against on the actual game, because the pressure and what the players want, and then the overall like the vibe that tightens you up, it doesn't really always, what you think will not always go through as how you expect it will be. So you always have to be prepared for like instinctual, like impromptu. So in those kind of cases, it's just really about team effort, where you just try to think about what is the best pick or what is the best strategy that we are comfortable with, not trying to counter them. And then you ask the players, how do they want to play these heroes, or what heroes they want to play against them. So again, draft strategies are very important, especially in those big stages. But it's really about the mentality. You always need to think that it's okay to make errors. Basta, let's not have regrets at the end. We're always going to have fun. And of course, if you win, mas masaya. But let's have no regrets and smile at the end. That is always the mentality that we always think in each game.
Wow, indeed. That's a really good message. Like having that.
Chill lang si Coach Panda, no?
Hindi naman chill. Lagi nga ako takot eh.
All right, so that positive mental attitude, that's really something that you need to learn as well, especially in being a professional player with the pressure being directed at you. And Coach Ducky, now it's your time to share your side of the story regarding the preparations needed for this kind of a tournament format.
Oh well, yeah. I've been to both the first two iterations of the World Series, so it's it's quite tricky actually. So if Bun is going to ask me like, well, what did you guys do in there? It was really hard though. What I did was I did the same with Juan. So I was the manager and coach at the same time for Bren when we went to M2. So it was really hard for me to like prepare the documents because I had to talk to a number of people. But the good thing is we have like a liaison who actually manages or prepares the paperwork for us so that it's streamlined. It's easier for us when we arrive in Singapore. Now the hard part is the hard part is when you arrive in Singapore. Right? So, if you test positive, so just to give you guys an idea of what went down before we actually flew over to Singapore for M2 is that prepare all the paperwork, but like 5 days before our flight, we had to do an RT-PCR in Chinese medical. So we did that. Everyone was negative except for one. It was me. I was positive for COVID. Unfortunately. Now,
Hindi natin ni-report yan, no, Gab, at that time. we did not report that.
I tested positive for COVID back then. And then I said, this can't happen. The thing is, the reason why I cannot let that happen is because Carl TZ and Flap TZ are actually minors. And I am their legal guardian before they can even fly to Singapore. So if I can't fly, they can't fly. That's the thing. So the day after that, the day that I tested positive for COVID, I asked to be retested. Luckily, it was a false positive, so I can fly. Now, the 3 days before our flight, we had to retake the RT-PCR. Everyone tested negative except for one. This time it was few who tested positive. Yeah. And then, so we cannot let that happen as well because we don't have a sub for few as a support player or mid laner. So what he did was the same thing that I did. He tried to retest for RT-PCR for COVID the day after, and luckily he tested positive. He tested negative this time around. And then when we arrived in Singapore, we had to declare that we tested positive within the last 21 days. And unfortunately, when you arrive in the immigration section in Changi Airport, they have to detain you because you tested positive for the last 21 days. They will bring you over to a quarantine facility. I forgot the name of the hospital, but it was actually a hospital. They will give you one room. They will give you one room for each. Unfortunately, before we can even like go to the hospital, we had to wait for 6 hours for an ambulance because you can only have one person per ambulance. So I have an ambulance, few as an ambulance. We had to wait 6 hours in the airport. Then when we arrived in the quarantine facility, unfortunately, there's no Wi-Fi. We can't buy a SIM card. No one can send us a SIM card, so we cannot contact anyone for like 3 days. But after that, we were free. After like 3 days, we went to Shangri-La, which is relatively near to Orchard Road. It was pretty chill in there, actually. That's the only practice that we had. So I think in Bond's case, in Blacklist's case, that's what's going to happen as well. It's like they can only train when they actually arrive in Singapore. That would be like 14 days. How about Bond? Is it like 14 days? Yeah, 14 days quarantine.
Nabawasan na ngayon, 10 days quarantine na lang.
Oh, 10 days. So
Lumuluwag na rin.
it's 10 days. Yeah. But the thing is, Bond, when you guys arrive there, you can actually train as hard as you can because bawal kayong lumabas. And if ever umapa kayo sa labas ng kwarto, ang laki ng fine. So that's the thing. Hindi talaga pwedeng lumabas. So,
ito na mga insider tips.
But the mentality side of things, when we were going up, in the grand finals, the day before, all I had to do for my team was make them as comfortable as possible with their strategies and everything else before everything goes down. Luckily, we had like an hour of like talk of all the things that we had to prepare for Burmese schools, and luckily we pulled through and we won.
Coach, did the whole brouhaha about yung mga RT-PCR test, negative, positive, ano yung naging effect nun sa psychology ng team? I mean, you're coming into this really big competition, tas biglang lahat yan nangyayari sa inyo. How did it affect you guys? Tas paano nyo na-overcome?
I was taking it lightly kasi parang ginagawa ko na lang siyang biro kasi alam ko pag sinabi ko sa team ko yun like na parang in a serious tone, talaga magpapanik sila. Like, baka hindi tayo makalupad, baka hindi tayo makapag-compete sa World Series. So, I was taking it lightly with them. Joke ko na lang sila na mamamatay na ata or something like that. But, I didn't
So
really...
the players took their cues from you, kumbaga.
Yeah.
Kung ano yung attitude mo, yun rin ang...
Ang iniisip ko nga nun, hindi ko sa kanila sasabihin so they don't need to worry about it. But kailangan ko kasing sabihin sa kanila, just to set proper expectations na baka hindi nga kami makalipad because Flap TZ and Carl TZ are both my, ako yung legal guardian nila. Yeah.
Okay, before we go to the next round of questions, may actually ang dami na. Salamat sa lahat ng 341 live viewers sa Facebook ngayon. So kung may mga tanong kayo, please just comment as babasahin namin on air. The first question that I want to read on air is for Coach Bon. Ito mula kay Renz Kenneth Perez. To Coach Bon, my question, in the upcoming M3, makikita ba natin ang mag-core si Haji or still mag-stick kung ano yung effective, even if it's already broken the code?
Everything is possible. Everything is possible. Pwede. May chance naman na mag-core si Haji. Pero syempre, laking pasasalamat ko din na nagkaroon kami ng talo ng MPL. Madami ako na-realize na bagay-bagay na kailangan i-tweak yung draft, i-tweak ng konti yung strat namin. Pero hindi whole renovation. Konting lang tweaks. So, laking pasasalamat namin. Kada matatalo talaga kami. Laking pasasalamat namin na may matututunan kami. Wag lang talaga kami dun mangyayari uli na sa finals matalo. Kagaya ng sa MSC, then dito sa MPLI. So hopefully sana wag na kami kapusin nitong M3. So everything is possible. Yes, Haji can core, Vice can post for. Everything is possible. Or we can just remain the same.
Okay. Sige. If there are any additional questions, babasahin na lang namin ulit. But for now, balik tayo kay Carlos tsaka kay Gab.
Actually, I have a question to the coaches. I think mas applicable to kay Coach Ducky tsaka kay Coach... I mean, any of the coaches na lang. I'm curious po, how do you prepare to scout yung mga kalaban? Lalo na in the case of Blacklist International, relatively unknown teams with the Turkish region with Team Badel and DDL.
I don't know that.
Yeah, and of course yung the Brazilian number 1 team, Red
Canids.
Yeah. Those two. So very unknown eh. How do you guys prepare for those kinds of teams?
Bon.
Ayun. Minsan pinapanood ko yung mga live eh. Minsan nai-snipe ko yung mga ibang players nila na naka-live tapos doon pa lang pinapanood ko na kung paano yung kung paano i-rate yung mechanical skills nila and kung ano yung mga hero na usually nilang ginagamit. And then yung mga previous tournaments nila, makikita nyo yung mga strength nila, mga win rate sa bawat heroes. And yun yung meron kaming yun yung makikita talaga namin. And aside pa doon, wala tayong masisilip na screams na kung ano pa man dahil syempre may mga high history. Yun yung talaga yung resources na meron tayo. Panoorin sila sa live, panoorin yung replay, and then i-summarize kung ano yung pinakamataas nilang win rate na heroes. Yan, ganun.
Same question din to Coach Panda and Coach Ducky after.
For me is that when I look at the teams and first thing I try to do is that I try to think about what is the image I have if I look at this team? It's not before I get into the details, like what heroes they like to use, what is their specific strategy. I try to see, like, for example, if you're thinking about an animal, you try to describe, are they like a wolf style of game style, or like a rabbit, or like a tiger. So in this case, for example, I describe Blacklist like a dinosaur team because they are not really the aggressive team as you can, compared to other teams. But once they start getting the farm and they get the momentum, and then when they get starting getting mataba like a dinosaur, there's no stopping from them a rampage. So there are those kind of images that I have if I look at the team. So, of course, it is a really big advantage if you look at these certain teams. And then, for example, you will see like a certain pattern if their jungler doesn't use like these fighter heroes. If their jungler hindi siya mahilig man using assassins, then of course you can prepare much easier. But against teams that you don't really have much info, for me, I just okay, are they aggressive game style or passive? Of course, it depends on the heroes. But there are still teams that even when they have aggressive heroes in the early game, they don't really like to play aggressive like other teams. The best aggressive hero game style that we can see, especially from MPLI, is like Onyx Indonesia, especially the player Sans. No matter what hero he uses, like YSS, Paquito, or kahit anong hero, he just likes to solo play, parang solo RPG in the enemy jungle. Because that is not typical, because most of the junglers, they like to they like to start their first jungle, and depending on the situation, they like to take the momentum inside the enemy jungle. So there are these kind of certain key players that actually change the flow of the game. The best example, like I said, is on Indonesia Suns. And then after you look at the whole picture, and then you identify the key players, then I like to identify like how do they set up for objectives? Like what do they do before the turtle? What do they do before getting the turret? And how do they finish the game? And then last, what I like to do is that I like to see like if they are split type push like team, or are they really a team fight based team, or are they really parang like a sneaky type team where they are not shown inside the map, or they have irregular bushing positions. So again, I like to start from the map, from the big picture, the forest, and then look at from the forest, I look at the trees. And from the trees, I try to identify what color are those trees, or what kind of leaves they have. And then after I identify the trees, I try to see what kind of, for example, fruits. And then after I see the fruits, I like to see how big is the fruit, or how masarap the fruit is, or how fresh, or those kind of micro details. So that's how I try to identify the team when I research.
Gab, makikisingit lang ako sa sagot ni Coach Panda. Very philosophical, I think. I think Panda has always been known for his very philosophical approach to coaching, no? Kung si pero sinabi niyo, Coach, kung Blacklist ay isang dinosaur, ano naman animal niyo para kay Bren?
Well, Brain is a titan. It's not really an animal. It's a titan. They already proved to be the best of the best, and then this team is my idol since day one. Also, they are a titan, not animal.
And what do you think of your own team, RSG?
What?
What do you think of your own team, RSG?
We are a Bulbasaur.
Titan. Titan din.
Hindi ng Attack on Titan.
Okay. Sige, Coach Ducky, I think yung tanong nga ni Sir Gab, how do you scout for yung mga teams na medyo unknown factor sa ngayon?
Okay. All right. Just a disclaimer, no. This is during the Bren Prime, like M2. Season 6 is like season 7, and then M2. During our prime, I don't really scout teams. I don't watch their games. Like yung mga previous games that I don't watch. The reason being is because I made an assessment with my team. There are two types of athletes basically. Now I can consider my team like just one athlete, one unit, right? Those two types of athletes are the first type is the task-based athletes, and then the second one is the goal-based athletes. Now the difference between the two is that task-based athletes are more focused on kasi sino yung malakas sa kalaban, right? Like what we're doing right now. Like ito malakas to si Sans malakas sa ganyan. That's like the mentality of the task-based athletes. Now, my team, generally speaking, back in their prime, uh, we're mostly goal-oriented, goal-based. They're more focused on goals. So basically, what this means is that this type of athletes are more focused on their mastery of the game. Right? They don't care about anyone else as long as they master their game, they hone their strategies by themselves. Everyone else doesn't matter. Ganun sila. So I said, okay, so ganito pala yung identity nitong team na to. So what I did, we don't really watch or hindi kami nag-scout ng mga previous games like other MPL regions. What we did was nanonood kami as the tournament flows. So kung ano yung pinapakita nila, that's how we adjust. Kung ano yung pinapakita nila during the tournament, because I'm pretty sure, I'm not pretty sure, I'm 100% sure. All teams right now, they're trying to hide everything as much as possible. As far as strategies are concerned, drafts are concerned, they will try to hide it. So it doesn't matter. Parang it doesn't make much sense to like scout yung mga previous games nila, like in previous tournaments. So yeah, yun lang. I mean, we don't really scout it like back in our prime. So what we did was just watch as the game flows, as a tournament flows rather.
Nice, nice. So I think actually ang ganda ng tanong ni Sir Gab kasi nakita talaga yung different perspectives from each individual coach, no? Na may sarili-sarili talaga silang perspectives or approach kung paano nila mini-mentor yung kanilang team, no? But sisingit naman uli ako for another reader question. Ito para kay Coach Bon Chan uli, napakasikat niya sa comment section because of M3 nga. So question para kay Bon Chan. This is from Marky Caballero. Pwede po ba namin malaman bakit hindi binaban or kinukuha ang Rafaela nung MPLI Grand Finals game against Onyx Esports? Ano yung iniisip nila that time about Rafaela? Thank you.
Siguro napansin din ng Onyx Indo na kung gaano kataas yung win rate ni B sa Rafaela. And kaya hindi namin makuha kasi inaagawan kami. Although, alam nilang kumuha na kami ng Matilda, iniisip nila na siguro iniisip pa din nila na pwede pa namin pagsabayin yung dalawa. So inaagawan na talaga nila kami. And madami din ako na-realize after ng laban namin dun sa Onyx. I love having mismatch kasi sa sa mga laning. Kasi di ba meron tayong tatlong lane. May panalo mo lang yung dalawa, parang meron ka ng 66% chance na manalo sa game dahil naipanalo mo na yung dalawang lane. I love having mismatch sa mga magkakatapat sa lanes. Ang kaso nangyari nung sa nung sa kalaban na namin yung Onyx Indo, kaya nilang pagpalit-palitin yung hero nila at i-switch sa iba't ibang lane. For example, yung Claude, inassume namin na, ito na yung ito na yung gold lane yung Claude. So, bibigyan ka namin ng mismatch. Heb, ito yung katapat mo, Claude. Kayang-kaya mo na yan. Okay, coach. Kaso nung nag-start na yung game, yung Claude, ginawa nilang phosphor eh. So, nasira yung plano kong bigyan ng mismatch.
Nagulat ka doon.
Oo. Although may gumagawa, pero iniisip ko.
Nagulat din ako nun eh.
May gumagawa naman nun, pero never namin inassume na gagawin pala nilang phosphor yung Claude na yun. And yun nga, number doesn't lie. Kasi nung tinignan namin sa stats, si CW sobrang lawak ng hero. Kahit ano gagawin yung phosphor, kahit ano gagawin yung post 5. And dahil doon, nakakuha kami ng malaking idea kung paano namin i-tweak, kung paano namin i-adapt yung gano'n na okay, sige, akala nyo mismatch na din kayo. Sige, kami din. Masaya yung mga pagkatalo na gano'n na marirealize mo na eto pala yung pwede pa namin i-improve. Yung Rafaela na yung talagang inaagawan nila kami. Which is ginagawa din ng Omega dati nung I think regular season yun. Pinerspick nila Rafaela. Dahil nga ganun kataas yung win rate namin sa Rafaela.
Matindi pa lang labanan din sa drafting pa lang. Okay, Carlos, you're up next.
All right. So earlier, like you guys had a discussion about the teams that you can't really predict kasi syempre wala kayong masyadong alam regarding these teams and sometimes they might hide something according to Coach Ducky. So this time, I want to ask, like we have like these dark horse teams in every M tournament, like M1, Access Esports, and I hope Oh My Venus doesn't watch this stream because we can't forget what Axis did to Onyx PH back in M1. That was completely like a masterclass from Axis. And then M2, you had Burmese Ghouls who literally went all the way to the finals and could nearly won that championship against Brent Esports. They nearly went to distance. So my question is for all three of you coaches, who do you think is going to be like the potential dark horse here in M3? So maybe I'll start with Ducky.
All right. I have to disagree though with M2 or with M1 rather. The dark horse back then was 10 Seconds Gaming. Frost, the team from Japan. They actually they were so unpredictable back then. Like we couldn't predict what they were going to do with like an X-Borg, and it was a very first time in a long time I think when they played the Lilia. No one was playing Lilia back then, but you know, suddenly they were playing Lilia and then an X-Borg with a Retribution for crying out loud. We didn't have any idea what they were doing back then, but you know, it's your opinion, but I think back in M1 the dark horse was actually 10 Seconds Gaming Frost. Anyways, just to go back to the question. I'm sorry, what was the question again? No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I don't have like 100% idea of like who's going to be the dark horse this M3. But if I'm going to put my money on a team, it's definitely someone from Malaysia.
Okay, so Team SMG, if I'm not mistaken, or Todak. I mean,
yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, James is there. James is RQ's coach before. He's my friend. He's a real good friend. He was the coach for RQ back in M2. He was then he switched over to SMG. He flew over there, and he's now coaching there.
Yeah,
so, yeah. Good chance.
Yeah, and speaking of those Malaysian teams you mentioned, Coach Bonchan, I like to hear your thoughts about this because you mentioned on MPL na you wanted to face like Todak because like they have that that unpredictability, and then you also wanted to face Team SMG. Like, so are you still sticking that the Malaysian teams are going to be a dark horse for you, or it's going to be someone different?
Yes, still the same. I still bet SMG. Well, nung previous game naman kasi nila against RRQ. For me, malaking factor si Sasa. If maaalala nyo nung M2, M1 dito sa Araneta. Sila yung nag-champion nung nasa ano pa siya, nasa Onyx, Indonesia. And malaki yung kayang gawin, madaming pwedeng gawin si Sasa. And for me, although nakatapat din naman nila yung RRQ na hindi kompleto yung main 5. For
MSC
me, MSC tama. Sorry, MSC nung sa Araneta. So sila yung nag-champion Onyx Indo with Sasa. So I still bet SMG dahil hindi pa nila napapakita talaga yung full potential nila. And kita niyo naman gaano kalakas sa loob nila na mag-pick ng team sa MPL na pinaglaban pa yun. Alam nila malalakas, di ba? Hindi sila mag-pick ng gano'n kung alam nilang hindi kaya. For me, still SMG pa din ang magiging dark horse.
All right. So follow-up question for you, Coach Bonchan. So you mentioned you wanted to face Team SMG nung MPLI. Are you still sticking na sila pa rin yung gusto mong harapin, or you might want to change it because of what happened nung MPLI finals?
Siguro kahit na sinong team, di na natin masasabi kung anong preparation ng ginawa ng iba't ibang team eh. So hindi ko na din makulit.
Basta umabot, no?
Basta makaabot tayo sa finals or sa playoffs. So, sa playoffs wala namang matatanggal. So placing lang talaga yung sa group stage. So wala, hindi ko na kung sino pipiliin ko sa dami ng team na hindi na natin alam kung paano yung laro. So, talagang magigita yung freestyle pagdating sa kanila dahil yun nga, iba't ibang meta na yung papakita nila. Kung sinong unang maka-adapt siya yung mas makaka-advance.
All right. So okay, now's your turn, Coach Panda. I like to hear your thoughts on who think is the dark horse. Boom.
Can I be biased?
Really? You're gonna pick RSGSG?
No, not really.
Oh, not really.
No, it's just that I just feel like right now, I mean, we 70% of the teams, for example, like the Red Canids and the Vivo Kid from the Brazil and the GX squad, and like Bloodthirsty Kings, Malvinas, Navi, Bedell, like those teams, I really have no information. And then I think all of the teams are really strong. I mean, they deserve to be there, especially also RSG Singapore. I'm a big fan of them, and of course, I want to be biased. But other than RSG Singapore, I feel like maybe. The Brazilian champion, the Red Canids Kalunga, maybe they will be a good, also maybe a good dark horse because it's MPL Brazil. I mean, other than the um, like the Singapore, Malaysia, PH, Indonesia. I mean that country. Other than Southeast Asia, Brazil is the other non-sea games, no, not non-sea region, Brazil, MPL region. So maybe since they are the champions over there and they quite dominated, maybe they'll be a good dark horse. But I really want to see honestly how like the Todak plays against the Blacklist because I natatawa ako dati when they were playing like Akai Jungle, Akai XP Lane, tapos they're also using like Balearic and Balearic, and so maybe I'm thinking maybe they will prepare like Nana Jungle or maybe I know Estes in the gold lane. So we don't know what will happen with Todak. So I'm really curious how they can play against Blacklist also. Against SMG, we know that their game style is all about protect Sasa and then make him the king, and then he will lead the game. But that also reminds me how Blacklist played before. Make Oheb the king. He will be the dinosaur and he will eat everyone. So I'm not saying that their game style is pretty much the same, but syempre, I'm a bigger fan of Oheb kesa si Sasa. But I really want to see those two teams match up against also.
Interesting. Like you did mention all of those like those unorthodox picks like an Akai jungle. I did not put that. I did not expect that, or an Akai XP lane, or a Nana jungle. Wow,
Nag-Lila pa. They also use Lila. Todak also use Lila in their regular season MPL and they won.
wow. Okay, that's going to be something that I want to see, especially when they go up against Blacklist International, like the unorthodox discipline of like Todak against like the very systematic approach of Coach Bonchan. So yeah, I'm looking really forward for that. Leo?
Okay, merong napakagandang comment. This time kahit sinong coach raw ang pwedeng sumagot. Ito yung malas no, pag wala ka sa pag wala ka sa usapan, pag-uusapan ka kumbaga. So ngayon, since wala yung si Coach EF dito, to any of the coaches willing to answer. This is from John Michael Enriquez. This is regarding kung gusto niyo magbigay ng opinion, no. This is regarding game 2 of Onyx PH and RRQ, where Onyx PH had the mistake in the draft picking Luo Yi very early, which is indeed crucial. Do you think that Onyx PH would have bounced back against RRQ if it weren't for that mistake? Because I still think that Onyx PH is one of the contenders for M3. They are at least in the top 4 teams for me. So kahit sino dito, if you want to give your opinion on the play of a fellow team na wala dito sa usapan.
Okay, mauna na ako. So, after nung laban ng Onyx and RRQ, Onyx PH versus RRQ, din ako kay Grade, tinanong ko, ano ka ako nangyari? Bakit Louie? Ang sabi niya, may naka-hover na sa correct hero, ang kaso parang gusto ng isa na, teka, i-switch mo na ako, dahil ako yung gagamit ito. Parang ganun, if I'm not mistaken. So, hanggang sa naubos yung oras, so, eto na, i-switch mo na ako. Hindi makita yung hero. Kaya yun, naging Louie. And, if tama yung draft nila, sa particular game na yun, palagay ko mananalo sila. Because, minsan nakakakwentuhan ko din ibang players nila na kaya nila yung RRQ. And after nung mailabas nga yung bracketing sa MPL, so sabi, kayang-kaya yung kabilang bracket, yung RRQ, just in case na sila yung makalusot dahil yun nga. Para sa kanila, hindi RRQ talaga yung hadlang sa kanila. Kundi yun nga, sabi nila, mas malakas pa yung mga PH diyan. Siguro minalas lang talaga ang Onyx dahil yung inaubusan ng oras during pickings and gustong may switch. Well, naka-over na yung correct hero kaya na wrong pick. And kahit na wrong pick, makikita niyo naman sa game na nakapalag naman sila. Yun nga makikita mong hindi talaga comfort ni Grid yung hero na nahawakan niya. Kaya malaking factor. Pero
So close. So close talaga. So agree kayo sa commenter natin na si John Michael Enriquez na kung hindi dahil sa Louis pick na yon, Onyx would have actually helped go the distance, no? Coach Ducky, Coach Panda, any thoughts on that or pass kayo?
Actually, Louis is one of the, how do you say, it's not the most popular pick, as you saw from the lahat ng MPL in Season 8. It was not really picked much, but if you use it well, if you pick it as a 4th pick or 5th pick, especially if you're 2nd pick, then it's a really strong hero that can actually counter lahat. It's strong against lahat ng marksmen. It's also good against like the Paquito. It's also strong against Lilia. Like any heroes that you think that is good, and then you pick it, and then at the last, if enemy picks the Louis, there's a big chance that you lose because of that hero Louis. And especially if you meet players who are really good with Louis, especially with their teleport, then most likely you will be really bashed in any of the situation you never expected. So Louis, yes, it was really an early pick for Onyx PH. But when I saw the game, I just kind of felt like they went through with the draft where they picked Aulus in the last pick. But you don't, for me personally, because you don't really want to pick Aulus, especially when enemy has a Eve, because it's hard to takbo. So siguro for me, the biggest key factor was not because of the Louis pick of the hero itself, but because of the players' mentality, because they first picked the Louis, and then so they're thinking, oh, if we lose, maybe we lost because we our mistake of picking Louis first. Well, I don't know what really happened during the in-game of Onyx PH, but I know that with Coach Zep, they are one of the most disciplined team also in their mind. But if it was my team, I think they would have panicked. They'd be like, Coach Panda, you're so and then they would say, dahil sa'yo, we lost this. So parang it gives a reason if they lost to the players. It was unfortunate, but I think overall, Onyx PH really did the best, and they did well.
Coach Ducky, any thoughts sa nangyari nun?
I think the game could have been different if they didn't draft, but it's hard to say it. So you don't really have like a reference how it will go down, but the game could have been different. This is all I can say.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Actually, it's interesting to talk about what could have been, no? But I think I think Sir Gab has a question that takes a different tack, no? So Gab, take it away.
So coaches, my question now is something a bit different, something that goes to what may happen. So what are your thoughts about the possibility of the new meta coming in before M3? We all know na every month that nag-update si Mobile Legends with patches. So how big do you think will the upcoming patch play a role in determining the tournament meta?
Actually, oo nga. In general, paano kayo nagdi-deal sa mga biglang drop na mga patch nga?
Okay. Siguro muna na ako, no? Okay. Kasi back in M2, sinabihan naman na kami na mayroong patch. It's just that they didn't tell us how big the patch was. And it was pretty big. Ito yung alam ko yung binago nila yung pag-scale nung defense, ng physical and magical defense ng buffs and the turtle. So napakalaking change niya. So parang if you're a player, kailangan mag-adjust accordingly kung paano siya gagawa. Kung paano siya tatansyahin in a sense. So I'm expecting na magkakaroon ulit ng patch just before the... I think sinabihan na ba kayo, Bon? Before M3. May patch ata.
Hindi pa. Pero nababasa-basa pa lang namin yung mga magiging adjustments and patches.
Yeah, but last time kasi sinabihan kami magkakaroon ng patch. Sinabihan naman kami before M2. Baka sana wala this time. But adjustments wise, I mean individual na lang siya, individual level sa amin on our side nung M2. Naging individual level na lang adjustment nila. I said, kasi majority ng impact nila kay Carl. So I said, kailangan mong ayusin yung pagtansya mo ng buffs sa retribution and stuff. Kasi nadagdagan siya ng 2 seconds pag ikot niya nung sa buff niya, sa rotation niya. So I think it was 1 minute and 47 seconds before niya maklear yung entire jungle. But this time nadagdagan ng 2 seconds. So there was a 2-second window for us to like i-delay yung blue buff or take it early on para secure namin yung turtle. So, naging individual level na lang talaga yung adjustment namin back then. I cannot say for sure kung anong mangyayari for M3, but that's how we dealt with, like, just to give you guys an example of how we dealt with it. It's different siguro every patch.
Coach Panda, kayo po. Paano po yung mga biglang datingan nga ng mga patch na to?
Well, before I talk about the patch that will be coming, that will affect the M3, I just want to say that, like just Coach Doc said, it really depends on the patch. And there are some like major patches that actually change the meta, and there are minor patches like about the map, about the creeps, or even about the hero, just nerfs or buffs, that changes the priority of the picks, especially when you do the draft. During MPL Season 8, there was actually a very big change of the meta that actually changed the meta to, instead of two off lanes, if you say that, they changed it to a marksman lane in the gold lane. I mean, not always, but most of the time. That's why we were seeing lots of the Clint, and then the Brody, the Nathan, those kind of heroes. That actually really affected our team. It affected other teams didn't. We didn't really have the biggest success, but slowly when you keep losing because of those, especially when you realize in the scrims that these teams are using this kind of heroes in the gold lane because of this patch. Okay, maybe we should try it also. So again, it really depends on if there's a patch and then you acknowledge it and then you experience it during the scrims. Now it's really important how much time you have to prepare and get comfortable with it. So for the M3, I'm sure there are changes. But for now, I didn't really see. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Coach Bonchan or Coach Doki. Is that I didn't really see like significant meta changeable patches right now. So I saw the Aurora, which I'm sure Venus will be very happy to use it again if ever, and also there are nerfs and buffs regarding heroes and also regarding the tower and the creeps. But for now, I don't really think there will be any significant change that will change the meta entirely. So yun lang.
No, Coach Bon, kinakabahan ka ba? Is it factoring at any point in your plans?
Hindi naman kasi sobrang daming beses na nangyari sa amin yan yung during ano pa nga a day before our match nagkaroon na ng patch and yun nga na-compromise yung original plan namin pero nagawa namin ng paraan. Siguro ang magandang mindset siguro during magkakaroon ng patch is wag tayong magpanic or sabihin yung mga hero natin na nerf or instead gawin natin siyang advantage. Ika nga sa movie na Now You See Me. The closer you look, the less you see. Parang ganito siya eh. For example, may hero na buff sa upcoming patch. Like, sabihin natin si Hylos. Si Hylos na buff. For example lang syempre yung mga team mag-uunan ngayon mag-pick sa kay Hylos dahil nila na buff si Hylos. Pero hindi nila nakikita na if one step ahead kang mag-isip, ang ipipick mo na agad yung pang-counter kay ang imamaster mo na agad ang pang-counter kay Hylos, which is si Valir. So sige, magunahan na kayo sa Hylos. Sa inyo na yung Hylos. Welcome mag-i-start na kami dun sa kung paano i-counter yung mga na-buff na hero. Like for example, si Aurora naman ng na-buff. So magiging na lang 3 charges yung freeze niya. So ano ba yung mga hero na magandang pang-counter kay Aurora? Nandiyan si Natalia, yung mga assassin na hindi niya agad, not literally assassin. For me, Natalia lang yung maganda. The rest of assassin medyo counter na ni Aurora. So magigang tayo dapat na mag-isip na one step ahead sa mga mababuff na hero. At i-anticipate na natin na pag-uunahan ng mga teams yung mga mababuff na hero. And gawin nating advantage yun na, okay, sige, mag-unahan na kayo dyan. And kami, magpe-prepare na kami ng mga pang-counter dyan sa mga hero na pag-aagawan nyo. Gawin lang natin silang advantage.
Okay. Alright. Carlos, meron ka?
Coach Bonchan, that's really a good answer you have right there. Having that advantage, like being able to adapt to what your opponents are able to deliver. And in connection to that, let's talk about like the heroes who could like potentially be a factor in this tournament. Because like in MPLI, we had like Ruby picks that have been really phenomenal, especially from the Indonesian squads. Like I have to say, like the setups that they do is really spectacular. In Brazil, I saw a lot of like potential capable Ling players in that region, as well as Lancelot as well. So regarding the hero pools, I'm curious for each of you individuals, who do you think is going to have like the biggest impact for the upcoming M3? Maybe I could start with you, Coach Bonchan.
Magiging malaking impact for me. Hindi ko pa nabasa lahat ng kabuuan ng patch, pero mukhang magiging effective ngayon ng sorry kung if I got your question correctly, hero ba na magiging malaking impact? Tama ba?
Tama,
yes, Coach.
Tama.
Hero.
For me, Kadita. Kadita ang nakikita ko magiging very useful ngayon dahil sa mas pinabilis na animation niya and yung ulti. Pagay ko magiging useful talaga yung Kadita, especially ngayon na madaming team na nagpipick ng Eve, na good counter yung Kadita kay Eve or Parsa dahil yun nga, standing target na hindi gumagalaw. So madali silang ma-1. So for me, mukhang magiging meta ang Kadita.
Interesting. I mean, Kadita is actually one of the most underrated mages, and Coach Panda, he has like one of the best Kadita players, if I'm not mistaken, which is the X-Word. Like, yeah, I've seen him before in the nationals, and I'm like, wow, this guy's pretty good. So, all right, Coach Panda, your turn. Like, who do you think, or which hero do you think is going to be like having that biggest impact in the upcoming M3?
For me, maybe Roger, because previously the most for MPL, the most popular picks were always Ling, and then it became the Hayabusa and the Lancelot after the patch, and then it became like the Paquito and the Karina, and then the Bane, and then the Balmond. So I'm always interested to see like what kind of junglers will always there be. And honestly, we didn't see much Roger junglers because after his nerf, and then the other heroes who had more variety of skills or situational adjustments, they had more power, especially in the early game. But undoubtedly, Roger was a really popular pick, especially to counter against assassins, like Ling especially. So I feel like Roger will be a rising popular pick because Styles buff niya regarding he has more defense and then HP growth on his wolf form. So I think that some of the regions will actually be mahilig to pick Roger from now on.
I see. Yeah, definitely. We're going to see like the transformation of Roger becoming a legitimate threat, in terms of like his pushing as well as his poke damage. Coach Ducky, how about your point of view? Like, who do you think is going to have like an impact in M3?
Clint.
Clint. Oh, yeah. May I know why?
He's actually experiencing big resurgence this time just because of how Onyx Indonesia actually played a hero. It was actually Sin from RQ actually first showed it, but right now it's experiencing resurgence just because of the fact that players are now realizing that the hero is actually pretty mobile. Like it's a hard catch, backs a punch, the skill set is actually, the toolkit is pretty amazing. Actually, if you look at it, there's just a few heroes that can actually outlane him, in a sense. So that's probably the reason why for me, he's gonna be like the point of contention in M3. I also would have to agree with one. I actually like Kadita, and the when they fix the animation for Kadita, I think he's gonna be really viable.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your points about Clint. Because I've seen the MPL like the Indonesian teams when they use that Clint, like it really is a devastating threat. And even Coach Bonchan did it with Oheb once. Like it was really phenomenal, like the output that he produces in game. So yeah, I'm quite curious how all of your answers are going to pan out in the upcoming M3. Leo?
Okay. Yes, actually, magbabasa lang ako one comment from RV Villanera. Sabi lang niya, ganda talaga ng explanation ni Coach Bon. Solid talaga. So, yan. Marami kayong fans dito sa comment threads ngayon, Coach. So, ayun. Actually, maiba lang. Ako naman, since nabanggit na ni Ducky kanina, restructuring, no? As you know, off-season ngayon ng Season 8. And I think, alam niyo naman mga fans, mainit na usapan talaga yung mga restructuring na sinasabi. And I think Blacklist, Bren, and RSG are compared to the other teams yung medyo tahimik, at least in terms of social media or in terms of chatter, kung ano yung mga nagiging changes sa kanila. Pero Coach Ducky, without giving anything that you don't want to give away, no? Ano yung philosophy mo sa restructuring na sinabi mo kanina?
I'm actually basically I'm scouting players, like fresh new talents off of like the amateur leagues. So I'm looking at like the next big thing, the next prodigies. So yeah, I think I found some. Yeah.
Oh, from Juicy
May clue ba tayo
Batos?
dyan? May clue?
Oh, wala bang dyan?
May clue.
Teaser dyan?
May clue.
Ano?
Magaling mag-ML.
Ay, ano ba yan, Coach?
Back to the trolling antics again.
Breaking news na sa amin yan. Sunod na Bren player, magaling sa ML. Yun na yung magiging headline namin.
Ako, honestly, tuwa ako pag may mga ganyang usapan, yung mga re-roster. Talagang nag-scroll ako sa FB, nagse-search, sino bang ano bang chismis, saan ba mapupunta si Ganda? Tuwang-tuwa lang ako na nagalaman na kung paano yung mabuo yung progress ng isang team.
Na-chismis na ako actually. Recently, merong mga balita na parang nagko-comment daw ako dun sa mga live stream ng mga babae kasi nag-scout ako sa mga tournaments. So lahat ng mga naka-live stream ng ML, nagko-comment ako. Yung mga tournaments, nagko-comment ako. Eventually, parang nabobore na ako. Tapos nanggugulo lang ako dun sa mga live stream. Lahat na naka-live stream dun, nagko-comment ako. Tapos ang ni-screenshot lang nila, yung mga comment ko dun sa mga magagandang babae.
Hindi mo marami ding marami ding malalakas naman na babae. Marami ding malalakas talaga. Nandiyan si Lexa. Tapos yung girlfriend pa ni Jay, anong pangalan?
Si Jay,
Bugrit.
Yun, Bugrit.
Si Bugrit, yeah.
Marami din malalakas na girl players.
Wow. Actually, okay lang, Carlos. Park natin yung usapan na yan. I mean, gusto kong balikan kasi naging mainit last weekend. Gumawa kami ng article tungkol sa female esports leagues. And I want to get your thoughts on that later. Pero siguro para hindi tayo ma-sidetrack sa question, kayo naman, Coach Panda, how do you plan to restructure RSG for Season 9?
Kukunin ako niyan.
Actually, I can tell the secret what Doc is trying to hide about the players because the players that I try to get, we're, like all the teams are behind the scene. They're secretly trying to get the top players that they are eyeing on, and then there are players that who are already about to commit to other teams, and there are players who are still considering options. But I noticed that many of the players, not really many, but some of the players that I actually wanted to get or consider for next season, like Coach Doki was also eyeing on them. So I kind of have a clue what's up. So who are the players already? And
Nako,
but
juicy
again,
to,
baka
juicy.
ano,
Yung news hindi Juicy Legends, but I mean juicy ang news.
but the way how I reconstructure is that as everyone sees me that I'm siguro one of the coaches that really like to start from the ground up. Dati pa from the SEA Games, I like to play. I like to pick players handpicked. Also from the LPE, I tried to do an open tryout from the beginning, and then also from RSG, I had to pick players who are just literally called, how do you say, chop suey? Not chop suey, but like how do you say? Parang players who people say that they didn't really win any championship, they're not really that famous or the top skilled, but I tried to get those players, and then that's why in the beginning people really didn't have an expectation on us, and that's why they called us chop suey. Like in the axis, if you see chop suey axis, they're like not really the best, but depending on how you use them, you can really reach the high MMR. So that's what I also like to do. I try to experiment, not really experiment based on rough idea lang, or without any background, but it's just I really like to see what kind of player has this kind of color, and then there's also this player has this kind of color. So what if I mix these colors? What kind of color would I get? For example, if you get blue and red, what will you get? You will get purple, right? Am I correct? Am I wrong?
Tama naman, coach. Yes,
Purple
yes.
It seems like you're looking for Axie Pro player.
Yes,
Oo nga
yes,
eh.
Coach Bon. That's why all your players are high MMR players. So, okay. So, just like that, I try to look at the colors. Of course, the mechanical skills and the talent and the skills has to be the basis of my standards. But after that, I look at the colors. I try to think maybe this will work. Maybe this will work also. There's a mature player and there's immature players who's highly talented. How about if I mix them up? Will this go well? So I'm doing the same thing for next season. Of course, don't worry, guys. I'm not kicking everyone out. I'm going to start again next season, but I'm going to just retain those who I think is still the color that I want to pursue for next season. And right now, I'm really trying to aim for not only for next season, but I can boldly say I'm really aiming for M4. I'm going to go all in because I don't really know how much I will last longer in this scene because I'm getting old and I'm so tired now. But again, I will do my best, and as always, every season without regrets. And then let's see what happens after the trend for next season, and let's see what kind of players I get. But I have my high expectations up.
All right. So straight from Coach Panda's mouth, no, he's not letting go of everyone. So i-underline po natin yung salitang yon, everyone, no. From Eli Don Oyos, mainit-init to, ha ha ha. So yes, agree po. Medyo pag off-season talaga ang sarap ng usapan ng ganito. It's really good to speculate. It's really fun to speculate kung ano yung magiging final lineups ng mga teams pagdating sa bagong season. Pero for Coach Bon, no, you still have M3, and I guess naging theme rin to nung season 8. Throughout season 8 na, you stuck with the Ube strat. Parang Blacklist has the reputation of not fixing what isn't broken, di ba? So in terms of restructuring, in terms of lineup, ganun pa rin po ba? And if you're not looking to restructure, for example, Blacklist, what changes do you think should be done paparating sa season 9 at pagkatapos ng M3?
Sa ngayon, wala pa kaming balak magkaroon ng any changes. Pero share ko na lang din as nung pagpasok nung MPL Season 8. And yun nga, naghahanap kami ng mga players kung paano pa ba namin mapapalakas yung team namin. And sa mga nakuha kong info at nalaman na si Haji free agent, totoo, si Haji free agent, yung ganyan ka galing na magiging free agent, paano nangyari yon? So, ayun nga, nag-reach out agad ako sa kanya bilang former teammate niya ako na, Haji, gusto mo bang mag-join sa amin? Hindi pa ganun yung tanong ko sa kanya. Ang unang tanong ko pala sa kanya, Haji, gusto mo bang mag-join sa Boracay? Tara, Boracay tayo. Ayun yung tanong ko sa kanya. Bakit? Ano meron?
Grabe, sinong hindi doon, di ba?
Miss lang kita, sama kayong sa Boracay. Pero yung mga former din na members namin like Edward, Kyrie, sila yung talagang mga nakalaro ko nung kaadikan ko pa. Nung kaadikan ko pa sa ML. So sila yung talagang mga nakasama kong maglaro sa mga tournaments, mga mall tournaments and online tournaments. And then dahil meron pa nga kaming islat dati sa MPL, so ayun, tara, tayo na magkakasama. Try natin hanggang ngayon. Ayun, nabuo na nga, nadagdag na ang VYs. However, umalis naman si Kyrie pero nadagdag naman si Haji. Ayun, nag-stick lang talaga kami sa ano yung tawag doon? Trust the process lang. Parang nagganon lang kami.
Alright, nice. Okay.
Pero sa ngayon, siguro kung may makita kaming free agent na mga hidden gems, gano'n, hidden treasure na natatago na parang nasayang. Siguro, pwede namin i-acquire. Kung syempre libre.
Boracay ulit. Gaya ulit sa Boracay, coach.
Tinatanong din ako ni na Boss Rats, may balak ka bang kunin? So, ngayon wala, pero tingnan lang natin kung sino yung mapi-free agent. Baka meron tayong mga hidden gems na natatago na nasayang. Pwede nating i-acquire. Syempre, balang araw, may aalis din naman sa mga team namin na magre-retire or malay natin magtayo na ng business and magsettle na sa kanya-kanyang pamilya. Hindi natin alam kung ano mangyari. So, better na yung prepare tayo na meron tayong mahuhugot na napalaki na natin or na-improve na natin na player na kung saan pagdating ng S9 or S10, doon na siya papasok.
Sir Gab, I think meron kayong tanong based on isa sa mga sinabi ni na Coach Panda.
Pero before that,
anyway.
Before that, I'd like to ask lang, speaking kasi you're recruiting na and recently pala, there were news na yung MPL na push back to a year. So what's your opinion on that effect? Sana na season 9 pa lang sana may parang scouting grounds na ang buong MPL.
You mean MDL?
Yeah, MDL was moved back a year. So yeah.
Oo, lupit sana kung doon kayo magsa-scout ng potential recruits, 'di ba?
Any of the coaches yung directed yung question?
Okay. Ako na lang muna. It's not much of like a change, really. I mean, if you think about it, we've been functioning like this for a very long time without the MDL, like scouting-wise. So there's not much really to say. But, I'm happy actually that, there's news about MDL upcoming in a year. But, pushing it back, I don't think it makes much difference.
Okay, any thoughts sa mga ibang coaches on MDL?
For me, same here as Coach Taki. I'm really excited for MDL because it actually opens up a step closer to MPL, because most of the times the way how you get into MPL is either you get recruited by already existing MPL teams or a team with already a franchise slot will actually get a buong team or they get their own players. But for MDL, it's parang like a stepping stone that you get closer to MPL. Hindi naman lagi, pero parang it's like you have the PBA and then you have the just before step of that. So parang it's like a more clear picture. Okay, if I step from MDL, then there's a bigger possibility I can get into MPL, which is it's not always the case. For me, I think it's better that MDL has moved to season 10 pa. I can say this because right now, yes, we are following the same structure and format with MPL Indonesia, but I think that it's a bit early if we started a guide, because not all the teams, especially the existing MPL teams, are ready to get like buong bagong team and start a new structure where we can have more players, and then the organization has to prepare the salaries, the cost, the environmental support that needs to give them. And also, I think we need to make more comfortable for the viewers to see that MPL is more mature because only start season 8 lang we started a franchise league. So we have a one more testing period in season 9 where the people focus on MPL. And then now, since that MPL image of being a franchise league has been already established in the people's mind, then we can pursue to MDL so that people are more comfortable with the transition. Yes, I know many of the players in the amateur league are already very giggle to become part of MDL, and they are quite unfortunately sad as of I know. But again, taking it a bit, taking a bit step back to go more forth is never a wrong idea. So MDL will happen naman anyways. So just wait for one more season.
So para sa inyo, Coach Panda, too soon. Too soon pa yung MDL.
Not too soon. It's just let's one step back before we step forward again.
All right. Got it. Coach Bon, kayo po, thoughts po sa MDL?
For me, gusto kong magsimula na, but 50% gusto ko na, 50% na wag muna. So doon muna tayo sa gusto ko dahil marami kasing players ang di nila ma-showcase yung skills nila, and madaming malakas na players talaga yung nasa amateur tournaments or amateur teams na hindi nila mapakita sa to the next level dahil yun nga, limited lang naman yung slot sa MPL na kung tutusin yung laruan na talaga nila ay pwede mo nang ma-compare sa mga MPL players. So dahil doon, medyo umunti yung opportunity na may showcase nila yung skills nila. Ang sayang naman dahil nasa peak yung Mobile Legends ngayon dito sa Pilipinas. So sayang kung masisimulan sana nila, mas okay. Pero yung kalahati ko naman na kung pipilitin nilang simulan ng hindi pa talaga sila ready, maaari tayong ma-disaster like yung community natin lalong maging toxic na makita mo yung mga nasa MDL nagtatrash talkan na kung ano-anong pasaring na ginagawa. Yun naman yung nasa side ko na 50% na wag muna kung di pa talagang ready. Dahil lalong maging toxic yung community natin na ayokong mangyari.
Yes. I think pwede natin rin balikan yung issue na yun, no, Carlos? Yung binanggit nga ni Coach Bon about yung toxicity ng community. But I think Gab, also has another question rin, no, yung sa sinabi. Naisip mo na kung paano ipaparaphrase?
Actually, very tricky tong question na to. Para siyang landmine for me. So, ang question ko, since you discussed kanina, Coach Ducky, na tumingin ka din sa mga up-and-coming female players. And since behind the scenes sabi ni Sir Carlos na parang there's no restrictions for female players on a team. So, are you guys willing to get a female player that you see that will fit the team as a player for maybe a future season?
Sure.
Any coaches?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, if we look at the gender, right? The gender side, like, if you look at players, do you really look at the gender? I mean, this is a mobile game. Like, if this was something more physical than a mobile game, then gender would matter. But right now, I don't think so. As long as the players actually, exude in her game, like she fits perfectly in my team, then why not? Why would I not consider putting a girl in my team? It doesn't make sense to like throw away challenge just because she's a girl.
Nicely put, Coach. Coach Bon, thoughts on this?
Siyempre dapat meron din talagang gender equality na kagaya nung sa IDNS, which is si Ramela, na na-showcase niya yung skill niya. Alam natin na girl gamer siya. And siya yung nag-iisang girl gamer na nakapaglaro sa MSC. And yun, na-showcase niya yung skill niya. And doon natin masasabi na wala talagang dapat pinipili. Wala dapat. At meron tayo dapat gender equality. Mapababae man o gay or tomboy, dapat kung pasok yung level niya sa pro scene, dapat palaruin talaga natin.
Nice, nice. And Coach Panda, kasama rin ba to sa colors na sinasabi niyo, di ba? You're always looking for new colors to put in your team. Na-consider niyo rin ba na perhaps a female pro player would be the right fit for your team?
Well, if the question is, can female athletes also play for in the esports, like professionally, like in MPL with guys or whatever that whatever the environment is? I said definitely yes, they can play. But if the question is, if I have the choice to pick a female right now to my team, then I would say it's really a yes and a no. To be honest, it doesn't have to be anything to be with about like having like a gender preference. No, it's not like that. It's more like if the if the organization is ready. For example, like what guys need and what the females need are different. And then the hormone pattern, the life pattern. Of course, all professional athletes should have the same if there's a regulation from what the coach says. But of course, a biological need is different and something you cannot control that. I would be really, really welcome to have a female player to my team as long as she qualifies over my standards, because I would treat every single player equally. But it is, for example, I would need to take patience and also understand. Okay, so if my female player, she's under the weather because today she's like this, and then she has a period, so she needs to rest more. I would completely understand that. But for me also, it would need to take a bit of a time of transition for me to also understand that part, because I'm a very strict player where I tell my players that if you have personal reasons, please also be professional about it. But I've been only dealt with only guys in my whole male athletes the whole time. So accepting a new female team, yes, I will completely accept it. But it will also take time for me to adjust to it also, so I can understand them better. This is a very sensitive questions, and then and depending on what each coach says, it can actually engross into a very big deal, into a big problem. And I'm not going to just avoid any kind of thing as much as I want, but if you ask my honest opinion, I would really welcome any female player as long as they're qualified. But also, for me personally as a coach, I also need time to adjust so I can understand that person, that athlete, a female athlete, as also a person also, because that is a different gender. So I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm not trying to cause any
Yeah.
debates or anything.
Yes, yes. Understood naman,
Actually.
Coach.
But I'm actually really curious, like what will happen? How will the screams be? What will the vibe be? How will they actually fight? What will the emotional debate, and then will there be any kind of physical rebukes? Like I'm really curious about what will happen. I can imagine it also.
All right. Actually, yeah, we have so many questions, I think, but we kind of have to wrap it up, no? Kasi nangako sa mga coach, lalo na kay Coach Bonchan na 1 hour 30 minutes lang kami. So I think I'll give the floor to Carlos, no, for our final questions.
All right, gentlemen. So yeah, we've been straying away from the topic for like a long period. So now let's go back to M3. Closing question. I'll first ask you, Coach Ducky, so that you could like if you need to leave, you can go ahead. So my first question would be, I want to know your predictions for each group. All right. So first is Group A, Blacklist, Red Canids, Malvinas, and BDL. Who do you think is going to top?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Yeah, that one is easy. Definitely Blacklist. I mean,
oh, Blacklist. Okay, yeah. I mean, without a doubt. Okay,
yeah.
Group B. Oh my goodness, this group: Onyx Esports, Onyx PH, Todak, and Cade. Who do you go?
I would have to go with Indonesia on it.
Oh, okay. Onyx Indonesia. I see. All right. Group C, Evos SG, See You Soon, Navi, and the Bloodthirsty Kings BTK.
I would have to go with Evos SG.
Evo's SG. Okay,
Yes.
next.
Yeah.
Group D, Team SMG, RRQ, GX Squad, and then RSG SG. Who would you go?
Huh. This one's tricky though. I would have to go with RRQ.
RRQ. All right. Okay. My follow-up question would be grand finalists. Who is going to go head to head?
I think it's going to be a rematch between Blacklist and Onyx Indonesia.
Okay. So we have an MPLI
Yeah.
rematch.
I mean, it happened to us. Like, we lost MPLI, right? For Runner and M2. We lost to Alter Ego, right? This happened. So you're seeing a cycle right now.
So repeat of
All
history.
you guys watching, you will hear it here first.
Ano magdigang anghel ka, Daki?
Coach Ducky's fearless prediction po to.
I mean, I'm talking to like a Filipino crowd. If Blacklist doesn't win, I don't get bashed, I don't get trolled, I don't get fortunate, right?
Yeah, it's understandable, to remove that unnecessary stress. Okay. So, Coach Bonchan, your turn. I feel like I already know your answer for Group A, so I don't think I need to ask that. Group B, Onyx Esports, Onyx PH, Todak, Cade.
I'm thinking about Onyx PH would be on top because I believe na meron talagang mga kontrapelo eh. Like Mora, sinasabi nila kontrapelo kami ng Omega. So, I think kakayanin ng Onyx PH yung kapatid nila. So, Onyx PH for Group B. And then Group C, for me, Evos SG. And then Group D, I'm thinking between SMG and RRQ, but I'm willing to bet with SMG.
SMG? Oh, okay. That's interesting. Well, why would you pick SMG over RRQ? I'm curious.
Because this time, makakalaro na si Sasa. Like what I said earlier. Sasa is a big factor sa SMG.
Right,
although RRQ, nagpalit-palit man sila ng first 5 nung MPLI, pero for me, pare-pareho ng level yung pinalit nila. Kahit sino pwedeng maging first 5 sa kanila.
Yeah, that's a really good insight right there.
Okay, so it doesn't matter kung sino yung first 5 nila nung MPLI. Dahil for me, talagang lahat sila malakas. While sa SMG, talagang kinulang sila ng isang key player. I will betting on SMG.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Like RRQ, like I've seen some switches in their hero pool. It's really amazing. And I'm quite interested to see how SMG is going to perform with Sasa. Now, I want to know your grand finals prediction. Who's going to go head to head?
Blacklist ata isa dyan.
Yeah, definitely.
And hopefully, makaganti kami. So hopefully, makaganti kami. Blacklist and Onyx Indonesia.
Okay, so same with
Sana wag ma-break yung pattern.
2 of 2 sa 2 of 3 sa matchup na yun, matchup prediction na yun. Let's see if Coach Panda ganun rin ang sasabihin.
All right, Coach Panda, your turn. Group A.
I don't like to do these kind of things because every time I do this, it's malas eh. Malas na.
Wag na. Hindi, ganito na lang, Panda. Sabihin mo na lang yung sabihin mo magta-top 1, yung hindi talaga magta-top 1. Para mabaliktad.
That's just making me have a bad image eh.
Hindi, may disclaimer naman tayo eh. We have a disclaimer.
No. This season will be different. Trust me, this season will be different. Okay? So Coach Pan, you can actually ask me what is your GCash number if you guys got lost because of my malas, okay? Okay, so for Group A, self-explanatory. It starts with a B. How is that? Okay.
Bren.
Bren. Okay, Bren. And then Group B, it's really about Onyx Esports and Onyx PH. I would want to really bet on Onyx PH because they are really big fighters. But Onyx Esports, they're like a demon eh. Like, I'm really surprised how Sans plays because, like, the way how I describe RQ Albert, for me, he's like a warrior. Like, he will never go down without a fight, and he always survives at the end. But Sans is like a devil. He's like that tricky devil you can't ever catch, but he always pokes you until you bleed. And then Kyrie is also a really amazing player. But for me, I want to support Onyx PH. but Onyx Esports it is. Group C, for me, I don't. Yes, there is hype on CU soon, but I think Evo Singapore is better for now. Group D, I'm going to root for Araki Hoshi. For me, Araki Hoshi is like the most disciplined team in Indonesia. They are always stuck on fundamentals. They always have a system, especially on Latin objectives. Their player R7, he's always a roaming type XP laner that is everywhere on the map, making him presentable. I really love this team also. For the grand finals, I'm really hoping for Blacklist versus RQ.
Oh,
okay.
ito na yung Gcash worthy question.
Tama, may sense. Kasi maghaharap yung Group B and Group D and doon pa lang maglalaban na yung Onyx at RQ. So possible na malagag na nga yung Onyx.
Nice.
Remember po, yung nanalo ng yung nanalo ng MPL ay last year. Nilaglag agad namin.
Oo nga eh.
Sino nanalo this time, MPL ay? Onyx Indonesia, diba? Malalaglag din yan. Same exact thing.
Kaya tama ako.
Gawa na tayo sa group chat ng pustahan.
Ngayon, pre, alam ko nanonood si Mars. Hindi si Mars, ha? Si Mars yung coach ng Onyx Indonesia. Kaya nakikinig ka ngayon, Mars, malalaglag kayo. Kahit di mo naintindihan.
Patay ka. Pupunta ka sa Mars. Ngayon ka na mapupunta Mars.
Marami mga Coach Panda fans na pumapasok rin sa chat. Ka-cute ni Coach Panda. Cute ni Coach. Go Coach. Go Coach. So marami kayong fans ngayon. Okay, last question na lang before we wrap it up now. This is a phone-in question from our boss, si Dodo Katakudan. So napakaganda ng question niya. So I think it will be our last final wrap-up rin. For you guys, ano yung hinahanap nyo talaga sa isang player that will make him worthy of your attention? So yun, if there's one factor that you look for, ano yun? And I think that would be a great wrap-up rin of our conversation na talagang in-explain nyo sa amin tsaka sa mga listeners kung ano yung unique coaching styles nyo. So let's start with Coach Bon.
For me, attitude and yun lang attitude. For me, gusto ko ng long-lasting player na makakasama ko not just for 1 to 2 seasons but would last for like 5 more seasons na makakasama ko. And para ma-achieve yun, attitude is the key.
So yun rin ang outlook niyo sa career niyo, Coach. 5 more seasons pa kayo sa sa MPL.
Hindi ko masabi. Pero ngayon, nakayong season na ba ako? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Magiging ng 9 and
magiging 9, yeah.
Sa mga naging matagal kong kasama doon si Dex. The rest na may iba't iba ng buhay. So nagtagal kami magkasama ni Dex because of his attitude.
Okay. So yun talaga yung X factor, no? Kayo po, Coach Panda, ano yung quality na hinahanap niyo sa players? I know iba-iba kasi yung tinitingnan mong yung timpla mo, di ba? For your roster. But if there's one common thing among the players that you want to develop, ano po yun?
As much as possible, I want to say attitude talaga, but the way how I experience is that, of course, I don't know the player's attitude unless I get to actually stay with them and then actually train them. So siguro that is like after I already signed their papers already. And then if their attitude is bad, then of course I just have to make sure that they get the right attitude. But kung hindi, then hindi. But other than attitude, what I'm really looking for is, how do you say, instinct, which also links to talent, and that you can actually see marami sa amateur league. Even though you don't actually meet them, even though you actually never talk to them, parang if you look at how they move in the map, the way what kind of habits they make as a player, then you can actually see, oh, this player has this instinct that is actually really distinct. Not really many other players have this kind of instinct or this kind of distinct movement. So this is a player I really want to get also. I'm not really looking for uniqueness, but I'm looking for a player who has their own unique distinctiveness that also tells viewers that if you notice me, you can see that I'm different. Parang ganun. So I really like players who parang sends a message to the people that I am different because I have this kind of not only certain skills or talents, but this kind of instinct. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying.
Yes, yes, of course. Very clear naman, Coach. Yeah. Yung parang X Factor. Yun nga, the unnamed X Factor na mapapakita lang talaga nila, di ba? And finally, to end our great spin zoom in section, Coach Ducky, kayo po, ano pong hanap niyo sa mga players niyo?
If I were like just put one specific quality, I think it would have to be attitude. But one already said it, so I would have to go with discipline. Disciplina sa sarili. I think it goes a long way, really, really long way.
Discipline in what sense, Coach?
I mean, discipline over everything. Like if you take control of your life in a disciplined manner, I think everything else follow. Paglalaro mo, you wake up early, you train like how you're, expected to train. You play like how you train. So, yeah, I think discipline and attitude are, those two things. I would like to say attitude, but Bon already said it, so I'd have to go with something else. So
yun ang other side of the coin, kumbaga. Kung dapat may disiplina rin bukod sa attitude pa.
Yep.
All right, and with that, I think we had a great 1 hour and 30 minutes with you guys. Napakaraming salamat po sa Coach Ducky of Bren Esports, Coach Panda of RSGPH, and Coach Bon Chan of Blacklist International. And again, Coach Bon, especially to you and the team, sobrang good luck po sa upcoming M3 and sa papeles. Actually, bago pa mag-M3, good luck pa sa mga paperwork na kailangan yung atupagin. And yeah, for Coach Panda and Coach Ducky, good luck rin sa restructuring nyo and all the best for MPL Season 9, which we're all looking forward to. So thank you again. So on behalf of the Spin.ph staff, this is your Associate Editor, Leo Mangubat, together with contributing writer, Gab Pe. Gab, hello, thank you. Salamat sa pag-join. Huwag kang magkasakit sa vaccine shot mo. Sabihin mo lang sa amin. Kaka-vaccine lang ni Sir Gab ngayon. And of course, our very intelligent, very intellectual esports editor, Carlos Pineda. So again, this is Spin Life, Esports Edition, tuning out. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.